Wonder went on an absolute run today. SPY cues the works. The stock market was absolutely beautiful. But the main question now is, can we get that continuation that we need? Now, going into tomorrow morning, we have some very big data and news coming out that will directly impact what's happening with the market. And if this data comes out well, I'll give you my overall opinion here, but it will lead us into new local highs in my opinion. But if it comes out bad, I do believe we'll start dropping pretty quick. So there's a few things that we need to be paying very attention to, right? Just solely on a few key metrics, because that will dictate the movement of the market over the next few weeks, specifically into the FOMC meeting, which is in March. Let's get to work. Now, number one, this is the NASDAQ. So you can see we broke local highs, we continued up, and today we made a new local high. Once we made that level, you ultimately started pushing back towards the downside. You go into ESC, look at futures there. Again, very similar. It was actually much stronger and pushed back up. Now this level right here, 50.29, is also your previous 2021 high. Yes, the previous bull market that we had post-COVID, that is what we're looking at right there. So again, I can highlight that to see, you can see very clearly, it's right there, right on top of that level, and that's kind of where we ended the day at. Now, is that symbolic? Is it a major level? I'm going to get more into that here in a few seconds. You go into SPY, we look at what's happening, you're still at local highs, you have a little bit of a press down, but all in all, it's not absolutely terrible. Again, you would argue too that you have support going into like the 2-hour time frame back down here, this would be your SPY supply level coming into effect. So again, we have lots of room to the downside, with still having a lot of supports. This is what happens when you break into all-time highs. And again, we'd understand this is still clearly an uptrend, right? Higher highs and higher lows, that's all you need to constitute that uptrend. Getting cues here, very similar. You can call us a wedge or whatever you want, but the fact of the matter is we really have no signs of slowing down just yet. Now go get into the 2-hour here. You can see very similar type of structure here, and what I'd be watching coming back down maybe into 432. So again, the levels are very clear. There's no need to overcomplicate this. Now, as well as going into this, the biggest things I'm going to say here, yeah, NQ's important, NQ's big. But again, the data that's going to come out in the morning is going to be the most influential and the most key. Now, what's coming out in the morning is going to be CPI data. And now the Fed has said PC is the most important than CPI, than basically PPI. Now, CPI has been, in my opinion, the biggest indicator overall. And we've seen CPI slowly tick down, which has been really good, right? It's basically topped out since last year, middle of last year, and this continues to come down into right now. Now, the Fed has said a few statements. They basically said we have enough data on the 3-month to cut rates. We have enough data on the 6-month to cut rates. But we need the 12-month data in order to cut those rates confidently. And so we don't cut them too early. And that's where we're sitting right now. So again, this would time out very well if data can continue to come in at least until May. That would be the 12-month marker, which could constitute getting those rate cuts into summer. So I still expect May to June to be the rate cut time if everything works out properly. So again, that's what we have to be focused on, and that's why this data is just so key. Now, when we look at the data specifically, there's core, there's normal CPI, there's, you can get a little bit confused and get a little bit lost here. So I don't want anyone to get confused, so I'll just go over this really quick. Now, I do think core is the most important right here. So we want to see core month over month to drop, and we also want to see the core CPI year over year drop, right? We came at 3.9 previously, so anything under 3.9 would be good. Now, CPI year over year, they're expecting a drop down to 2.9. That would be in line with PCE data as well. That would be very good also. So that's the data that's supposed to come out. Now, again, you look at this market, we look at the daily chart here on the NASDAQ, and you can see it's been a really nice run. We've had a really great press out of this. So again, I'm going to tell you this. If data comes out bad, I anticipate an instant test of 17.8 here on NASDAQ. But more importantly, you're probably going to get more downside from that level as well. That probably won't be the end of it. So I do think there's a lot on the line here. Now, what I will say, in the short term, I think the bigger effect here will be to the downside. What does that mean? I'm looking at this from the metric up. If data misses, the downside will be quick. I mean, it'll be quick. It'll be fast. Sellers will step in the market quick. If you come out and you just beat and you come out 3.8, maybe even 3.7, maybe it's really great, right? You'll get upside, but it won't be as extremely volatile. Why? Because you've just had such a massive run. So I think there's a lot more on the line for bulls here, meaning if they don't hold up here, if we don't have a good report from CPI, you're going to fall off, and it's going to fall off quick, which is why I continue to press the idea of staying liquid during these data pools. There's no reason to get crazy. There's no reason to, open up your risk. There's no reason whatsoever. So again, that's my personal opinion there. So again, as we go into this, I'm extremely liquid. I'm not really in anything. I have like a dated Apple, but that's about it. Nothing else I'm looking to get into right now. So understand that before we go any further. Now, DXY and a little bit more of this information here. The DXY, we have the inverse head and shoulders. You're basically sitting at that like neckline range right there, and we're just chilling. Now, you have a little bit of consolidation here. That's a little concerning. If this data comes out bad, I think you shoot up, right? It's going to happen quick. And you have room back in like 105, 106 on DXY. So again, we go to 30-year yield. What are we looking at here? Now, the yield has not broken out yet. Even though the dollar's been pressing up, I haven't been that concerned because yields continue to look positive. You're sitting in that range, right? And when we're sitting in that range, I just don't think there's a reason to freak out, to panic, or anything along those lines. So again, as I look at this, I'll guess in this range, again, you have to just wait for CPI to come out. If CPI comes out good, I think yields start to drop as well, and I think that's going to be very beneficial for the broad market. Now again, what do we say? What have we been looking at? Under 4%. I believe the market is a buy, and we'll have a crazy, crazy summer if that does play out. Okay, and one thing I didn't cover was the IWM, so I do want to talk about that. You mounted and held above 208. So again, the market's still showing me a few things. Even though we pulled back on NQ and down ES, the fact that Russell's up all at these highs at 203 and where we're at right now, it points to the side of the market's still viewing us very, very bullish, in my opinion, okay? The risk-on metrics across the board. You look at Bitcoin, you're at 50K. Risk-on metrics across the board, the inverse head and shoulder. Congratulations if you caught that. Another great play there as well. So as I look at the market, even despite the selling, buyers are still showing their true hand, in my opinion. So when we look at this market again, it can be kind of tricky, right? And specifically before big data days, I always say, sit on your hands. Don't get crazy. Be patient. There's no reason. You have more to lose than you to gain usually. You're not going to have a crazy run up before data reading. It just wouldn't make any sense. Now, when we look at the market, again, I want to talk about that with IWM. I've been watching the Russell. I've been talking about it. And I think you have to be paying attention to what the Russell is doing. But when we look at it as well, Bitcoin, the risk all on metrics are 100% still there. So I don't want to say that you look like you're going to just fall off a cliff. Now, I said that with what's happening with the data there. That is concerning because I still agree. If data comes out bad, you're going to drop. It's just going to happen. It's going to happen quick. However, the market still seems to be pricing in effect up to the more continuation to the upside, inflation to continue on the downside. Also, too, again, I don't want to talk about politics, but when it's an election year, we have to talk about it. The government is going to want to push inflation down as much as possible. Now, again, I'm not going to go down any conspiracy theories, but I'm giving you my opinion. The Biden administration needs something good to happen, and this is what the best they can do. And if inflation can continue to drop going into the summer, it will spark the housing market right before the election as well. Again, personal opinion, what I'd be looking for, and it still seems like all these things want to play out. So again, worth your time, dude, paying close attention to all these things that we're talking about. Well, let's get into some equities and what we're looking at there. Now, number one is going to be Tesla because it's probably one of my favorite plays. Now, I posted this on Twitter and said if you get above 194, you have a lot of room back into 206. Well, guess what happened? And this is why we always say watch the key levels. We want the break and the retest. We want the break and the retest for the upside move, right? Not just the break. Now, again, what happened? You got to that level, you rejected today, and we fell off a cliff and broke those higher low trends. Pretty ugly, pretty terrible. Microsoft, we pushed in the highs, and he came back down to 415. Now, this is probably one of the most interesting things on my chart right now. I'm definitely watching Microsoft above 415 for this BRB here. This was actually incredible. So if data comes out really good tomorrow, you are going to bounce instantly. This has got to be one of your top stocks you're watching. Now, if it comes out bad, if you get below like 412, you're dropping quickly into 407 roughly. So what I'd be watching here, few things. You clearly are watching this level here. This is massive. So you get below 412, 412.5, it's a short, right? So if data comes out bad, definitely looking for that down to 407. AMD, another great play here. This was a scalp that we had today here in Discord. Now, when we watched this, you had the fake breakout. I kind of got stopped out. We got back in. You broke, retest. You had the continuation in like 177.5. Again, if you break and hold 174.6, it's a long, but in total, when you get back below that level, you can't be long.